Yeah, so really thrilled to be here in the closing session of this CyberRisk Summit. I think when we talk about managing cyber risk at scale, we're also going to echo some of the topics that were in the previous session that Noe and Samira touched about, asset tagging, and also things that came in the Nino Jocelyn session when they talk about remediation. So just to lay out the structure of how we'll go about the session is we're first going to touch about the different forms of scale and how they customer meeting them and how they affect the vulnerability management and managing risk at scale. Then we're going to suggest tools that can help in navigating within this complex scale and enable customers to efficiently address this risk challenge. And from there, we're going to see how to plan and execute remediation automation processes in an environment. And we're not only going to discuss about it, we're also going to demonstrate it. So feel free to hit us with question either now or after this session. So when we talk with our customers, we came to understand that different customers meet scales in different forms. Some of them are meeting scale when they grow up or when they go global and open different sites in different places in the world with different time zones. Some are meeting scale when their technology stack are getting complex. Either they are marshaling to the cloud or they are going multi-cloud, where they are starting to deploy to different or consume services from different cloud providers, or when they have one cloud provider in place, but starting to get more and more services from that provider. Another aspect of scale that we see within customers is when they are having their continuous integrations, continuous deployment processes, or their continuous integration, deployment processes is getting complex. So imagine now you're starting a new project and it's now based on Python, and so there's new asset type that you need to handle versus which can be images that are now needed for deploying Python code, and this base image may be related or based on other images, and they are getting deployed to different clusters, and these clusters can be in different cloud providers, and this by itself possesses a scale in it. So as the deployment scale, the overall scale grows up. And also it can be where scale come to customers with different teams, needs to address different type of risk. So now you have security teams, you have dev teams, you have DevOps team, and you need to find which one to address which aspect of the risk. With all this complexity, is even on all this scale, it's also it's okay. It's where all the scanners, so cloud scanners, infrastructure scanners, endpoint scanners, AI scanners, when we're getting all the data from all these platforms, along with ticketing services and inventory services, now it's getting really very challenging task to address and mitigate risk. And the way to have this risk, or how to go about it, this complex environment and complex challenge, is by first taking all the data that you get from all these platforms, aggregated, consolidated, and then start to box it in what we call business groups. And business group is the way that you as a customer can take different type of assets and have them in a specific business process or business scope or business target that meets your organization, and this is the way you can get, for example, the code project, the code repository, the images, the servers, the clusters, the images throughout the complex environment, and have them in one business group. And once you have this business group in place, this is where you can start addressing risk aspect within this business group. So now you can start setting threat intelligence threshold, and asking and getting from the data insight about the exploitable and weaponized vulnerability that relies in asset in a specific business group. You can ask questions about assets that their operating system is reaching or about to reach their end of life. You can define SLA for each business group and can see which one is exceeding their SLA that you set, and from here, the way to get to automated remediation process is once you have this in place, is much more easy. When it gets to remediation at scale, there's two types of list of questions that you need to have in place. One is, what do I need? Why do I need in order to have an remediation process? And the other one, what is the challenge in each one? So now you have the organization structure in place, and you have this business group. How do I find the owner for each one, as some of the owners of this organization and the owner that need to address the risk are different? Another challenge is once you have set the different properties of risk, like SLA, or maybe thresholds that you need as to enforce domain or vertical regulation, and how you once it's set, how you make sure that it's met once you have the automation process in place. And once you have these questions and challenges, now we can see with Tal how to really read them.
Sure thing. Thank you, Dror. So I'm going to share my screen and show you the Vulcan platform, and really try to go through kind of what I've heard in previous sessions and what Dror mentioned, and show you how you can make some of these concepts of using threat intelligence or automating and really managing risk with the Vulcan platform. So kind of to start you off, we have our environment here. We have many different types of assets coming from different sources, different scanners, but also with metadata from asset inventory repositories like ServiceNow and so on. And this is where we can take this list, which is probably similar to what you have in your typical vulnerability scanner, and try to put this into business context. So after we've started building our business groups, we can start and see the organizational structure that we have in our org, and really divide this to the different business departments or regions that we have. In this case, we have a few applications and two locations with another layer of product. But It's really it's endless. So you can create your organizational hierarchy from a business standpoint and a technology standpoint, and get this really view of what is kind of the risk level and risk appetite for each department. And once we have this organized, we can start to work on our risk processes. So if I'm jumping back to the asset view, we can now start and filter by different types of slicing and dicing the data, because we've organized the data in our business groups, and now we have this in place. So this is one example of filtering by dev environment. So we have a few dev environments, and we want to see things that are exceeding SLA with a high risk or a high EPSS score, and now we can focus this. And now out of more than 11,000 different hosts, we are down to just 100 that we can start and focus our remediation efforts on in this particular case. Another view is really kind of any kind of SLA exceeding. So we can take in the dates and see all the assets that have vulnerability that are exceeding our SLA, and then we can start and narrow this down, whether we want to focus on specific regions. So we can do that and really go into more details as needed, and then eventually start to remediate and work on remediation of these vulnerabilities in a manual fashion if needed. But we'll also show you how you can automate some of these flows as well. Same goes from the vulnerability view. So if we're talking about risk or working towards operationalizing some of our ongoing processes, really there are many types of searches. But I heard in one of the sessions, like, how do we get the developers inside? How do we focus them on what they need? So once we've done our mapping of the organization, and we have the mapping of the different owners, and we have this data in Vulcan, and this is something that is relatively new. We call it dynamic properties, is where we can automatically assign properties to different assets with data that we get from any kind of third party or things that you build within Vulcan. But in organizations, sometimes the owner changes or projects are added to the same owner. So now I have this view of just John's vulnerabilities with the high risk, class top 10, and so on. And now John can focus on these 20 odd vulnerabilities and start remediating them, and again see what they can do. Maybe there's a WAF mitigation, so maybe they can use that instead of actually patching the code. But there's a lot of different options when you start to go this route. And maybe one other example is if we look at SLA. So we have our compliance metrics or any kind of internal governance that we have in the organization. So we can set our different SLA policies, and this again goes for every business group. You can set a different level of SLA, and we can choose specific threats. So in this case, fortunately, I don't have recorded future connected here, but we're taking data from CISA. We're taking weaponized data from different open threat intelligence sources, And we're looking at also assets that are end of life, also something that Vulcan is tagging. And now we have this risk view, and we can go in and really slice this, but maybe we're just interested in this Project X view, so we can narrow down the filter and really just work on this. So this is now really the real risk in the environment that we have, and we can focus our remediation efforts on this and really build the appropriate processes. So on top of this, we can really start, once we have the idea of what is the ideal workflow and what is the ideal playbook, we can start creating in Vulcan automated playbooks. So maybe just to give you a few examples. So we have our PCI application. So we've mapped on top of the different business groups. We also tagged all the assets that are related to the PCI scope, wherever they are in the organization, whether it's retail cash registers or my e-com store. We've tagged all of them, and now we want to get alerts, and we want to create Jira tickets for everything that is OWASP top 10, because we're using this as a risk matrix, and with a risk score above 50. This of course can be changed to any other metrics. You can change this to risk level critical if you want. Doesn't really matter. Vulcan will automatically, based on the risk score, will automatically assign the proper SLA and the risk level to in the ticket. So no issues there. We can automatically assign the owner based on these dynamic properties that I mentioned, or we can choose someone. We can choose Guy, but we can choose dynamic owner, and then Vulcan will assign the vulnerabilities per the respectable owner of the core project, and we'll create the task, and we'll actually even close this once the vulnerability has been indicated as fixed. And this whole flow is fully automated, and you can later on track this and see the progress as you go along. Another kind of relatively use case that we see often is really the ability to alert stakeholders. So in this case, we took any vulnerability where the SLA is already exceeding, but it's actually patchable. So we know it can be fixed, and we're alerting our stakeholders. Again, they're gonna get an email when this happens, and if for some reason an asset is not mapped, so it will actually fall back to me as the security practitioner in this case, that I can then later on navigate this through to the right person. And all these different automation actions can be tracked here in the campaign center, so you can see the different vulnerabilities and the different actions that have been taken, and who's fixing and who's not in these cases. So that's it for the demo part. Let me get back to the presentation. Hey, Dror, back to you. Yeah. So maybe to really sum up the demo and the presentation. So once we understand really what's the business context and how our org is operating, what is our needs and what are our constraints, we can tie this back into the technology and kind of give more color to the different assets and different vulnerabilities that we have. With that, we can start understanding who needs to be the one in charge of remediation, who are the remediation owners, and we can dynamically assign these, even if they change roles, or even if we add more and more projects and create more containers and more code and more cloud. And it keeps on updating automatically with your infrastructure. We can start creating automated playbooks. So we as security practitioners, we don't need to do a lot of the grunt work and can have the system really manage all these operational flows for us. And lastly, we can showcase our compliance, that we're meeting our SLA requirements and everything is documented. We're working out with our risk exceptions and actually handling the vulnerabilities as required by the different policies. Yeah, that's it for me. Tal, back to you.
Thank you, guys. Actually, I want to flag a question that was a question in the comments section. I think we have a few minutes to cover it. Dror, Tal, if you want to answer what Banhu, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, asked. Tal, do you see it?
Can we call it So yeah, you can create a business group that will share SAST and VAS findings, and then handle this in the same use case.